Welcome back, everyone, to Beat the Game. It is Steve, and it is now time to talk about the second aspect strategy in protection, which is called status control. So status control is by far one of the strongest protection builds that you can have for the solo game format. It's actually okay in multiplayer, but it's actually super solid in solo play. The reason why is because you will be mitigating all of the villain's activations by infusing status cards on the villain. So whether it be a stun, a confuse, or being tough, this is all things that negate what the villain wants to do, which is beat your face in or advance a scheme or, have you block or take damage. So these are all ways to avoid loss conditions. Now, the big upside of this is it is extremely powerful in solo. So the villain gets a turn. He's supposed to attack you, and then he's supposed to reveal an encounter card. If you are stunning the villain, that means he doesn't get to attack you. So that means you're only going through one card of the encounter deck, which is very good. So he's getting half of the activations. So that two things that are happening there. First of all, you're going through the encounter deck way slower, so that's going to limit the amount of acceleration tokens you're going to get. So that already is a big bonus. The other thing is you can stay in hero form longer because, well, I don't need to exhaust to defend. I don't need to prevent damage. I'm safe. So it's a very, very cool safety net that you have by being able to inflict these different status cards on the villain. So there you go, or sometimes even on yourself. Now the downside is they did come out with Standard 2, Expert 2. They came out with Steady, and what's the new one? And Stalwart. So these keywords really punish that strategy because I think the designer said, well, that is just too good. So you have like certain villains that you can stun, but you have to remove weapons. And then you have Thanos, who's completely stalwart the entire turn, and he can never get any status cards on him. Doesn't mean you can't play the strategy because you can always put tough status cards on yourself. So there is the big weakness is that Steady and Stalwart really mitigates this type of strategy, which is good. It's good that, one strategy is not going to be overpowering throughout every campaign or every scenario. Like you have to work for it. So there you go. So that's the big upside and downsides of this strategy. Now, if we're looking at the top heroes to perform this strategy, well, that is easy. So the big boy, I think the ultimate number one hero for this status control strategy is none other than Senor Doctor Strange. There is no better character because he has access to all three in a constant loop. So because of his invocation deck, he has access to all three, and it's very cheap. Now there's a very close second and third that have access to this, but I think the top guy is Doctor Strange for this strategy. There's no question about it. Doctor Strange on his own, he can defeat Thanos, he can defeat Ronan. Just the fact that he can just put a lot of status cards on characters, he can draw tons of cards. So he really makes this strategy work at its ultimate. There's not even a question about it. He can confuse, he can stun, and it's just super solid. So Doctor Strange is definitely number one on this list. Now, in a close second and third, it's really hard to decide, but it's Spider-Woman because she has access to pheromones. Gives her, again, an access to stun and confuse. But not only that, the fact that she can play in two aspects at the same time gives you all the great stunning and protection and all the confusion in justice. So you're allowed to do two things, or you can go protection aggression, and then you have even more stun options if you're thinking about staying in hero form longer and just bashing face instead of flipping back and forth. And then Gamora, because also she also has access to attack events in from every other aspect, which is amazing. And then you can just choose protection, and then you can add the justice and aggression attack cards that give the confuse and give the stuns. Again, super solid. These two characters by far are like really top tier for this strategy. All right, then let's take a look at some of the other ones. I'm just gonna bring my camera up a little bit, and then so these guys really fun and easy. All right, so let's look at the other ones in the strategy that not definitely, like they're all like really close and equal to the strategy. We're talking about Hawkeye, who has access to his arrows that can stun and confuse. Venom, who also has access to the stun and confuse. Captain America, who has access to stun. Black Widow, who has access to confuse. Quicksilver, who has an access to stun. Ant-Man, who can also stun and confuse with his gauntlets. Nebula as well has access to stun or confuse with her techniques. We have Scarlet Witch here as well, which is more, she's more random, so that's why she's a little bit more at the bottom of the list. We have Adam Warlock, but he plays a little bit differently because he's just all aspects, so he's access to all the things. And then Miss Marvel, and the reason why Miss Marvel doesn't really have access to stun or confuse, but because she can recur the events multiple times, it's basically giving her, every card is worth double, so it gives her double the access to those cards when you build. So again, every other hero can build with the cards. So again, it just depends how you want to do it. But I think these like are really the top of the line when it comes down to like this strategy of stun, confuse, and tough. So this type of strategy is just crazy. I did forget to put War Machine because he can also get a tough status card here. Where is Mr. War Machine? There he is. When he flips, once he has his armor, he can get the tough status card. I'm trying to remember. I don't think there's anybody else that has access to Ender kits to stun, confuse, or that. I think these are all the characters that have that innate in their box. All right, so now let's take a look at so these are the best heroes to try this strategy with, and then let's look at the top cards in this strategy. All right, let's look at the best card in the strategy. It is none other than Iron Fist. He is an ally that can deal 2 damage, and if he has the mystic counters, he can remove one of those counters and deal a stun on an enemy, which is really solid. And so you have, for the cost of 4, you actually have 2 stun effects and a blocker. So I think this is by far one of the top cards if you're going to be doing the stun lock strategy. All right, aside from that, we got also Tackle. So Tackle, number 2 card. Obviously, Tackle is 3 damage and a stun if you paid with a physical resource. Again, it's a very solid card. We've got my girl Ms. Marvel on it. So being able to stun and deal damage, very solid for this. Then we have another damage card here. Very expensive. You'll see that this strategy is very expensive. Hard Knocks. We can deal 4 damage to an enemy, and if we defeat that enemy, we get a tough status card. So again, we're not playing only with the stun, but being able to tough as well is very good. So being able to deal 4 damage and actually killing something. There's a bunch of minions. Like 4 health is 90% of the minions in the game. Maybe 95% of the minions have 4 health or less. So yeah, Hard Knocks is definitely an auto include. If you're playing with any type of minions, you can just have some fun here and get a tough status card and really set yourself up for like the villain, come at me bro. All right, the next one is for the heroes that have like a little bit more of a defense. We have Never Back Down. The villain attacks you, you get a perfect defense. You get +2 for your defense, and if that dealt no damage, then you get to stun the enemy. So for 1, you get a stun and a perfect block. That can be really good. And then the other one is Shake It Off. So this one is Shake It Off. If you are a Guardian character, you take a bit of damage and then you get yourself, you can defend, get a bit of damage, and then get yourself a tough status card. Again, exclusive to Guardians, but it's a very, very solid card. So this is by far, I think for me, the top 5 cards for this, for these. Now let's take a look at some of the other cards that are really, really great in the format. Let's go for the events. Muster Courage. Again, this is more of a, that's why I didn't make the top 5, because it's an Avenger exclusive. And this as well, I was like, I was debating on which one I wanted to put. I ended up putting the Shake It Off because it costs a little bit less. But Muster Courage is another great card. Again, depending what type of scenario you're playing. If you're playing against Loki, it's not as good. But if you're playing on stage 2 of a villain, stage 3, 2 status cards for 3, it's really good, but you have to be an Avenger to play it. Aside from that, because you will be getting like tough status cards or stunning the villain, I think Get Behind Me right there, canceling a treachery, canceling Shadows of the Past, having the villain attack you when you're tough or when he's stunned is very, very solid. So again, you're looking for ways to control the villain, and sometimes those treachery cards can be really nasty. So having Get Behind Me is a very solid card. As far as support cards, we have Defensive Training. Defensive Training lets you recycle some of these cards while you go to Alter Ego 1 turn to get either a bigger hand size, or you got the villain confused depending on the character you're playing, and then you can recycle two of those really good protection cards that you need to fulfill your combo and to fulfill the strategy. So Defensive Training is a very solid card. And then let's look at some of the allies that are amazing for this strategy. Black Widow. Black Widow, again, the Queen of Control here. She can thwart for 2, and then she can, you reveal an encounter card. It's something you don't like. It could be anything. It could be a minion. It could be a side scheme. It could be a treachery. It could be whatever you... And then just cancels everything. Even if it has Surge, even if it's an attachment, just cancel it. Poof, goodbye, go away. And then that's why she is kind of the Queen of Control here. Other characters that I really like for this, Luke Cage. He's a little expensive, costs 4, but he comes in with a tough, and he has then 5 health. So again, having strategies where you have Luke Cage, who's tough, and then you can Muster Courage and give him a tough again. But even better than Luke Cage is Charlie 27. Again, same cost, same thing, but he has toughness, but he also has Retaliate. So he has 1 less hit point, but he has the Retaliate keyword. So again, that's really cool because he can block and slowly drain some of the minions, and then you can even, like, the villain's attacking with tough, and you block with Charlie, who's tough, and Retaliate. Well, there you go. Poof, you remove the villain's tough with Charlie's ability. So Charlie, definitely a super solid ally to get. And then if you're going to have a scenario with a lot of minions, I recommend Martier. So Martier is another great ally here. She's another Guardian. 4 cost with 3 health, 1 thwart 2 attack. And she says, after Martyr takes consequential damage from an attack, if that attack defeated an enemy, give her a tough status card. So basically what you can do is you can just kind of play around with her, and if you heal her, she's always like a 2 damage, kill a minion. You kind of try to work the math there, but you can kill the minions, get her tough, blocks the attack of the boss next turn, and then rinse and repeat, and then as you go, and then she can be a consistent blocker that just keeps getting tough and dealing that 2 damage here and there. So that can be really fun if you combo off with a med team here and you keep her alive. All right. Now we're going to take a look. So this is it. Like I said, the strategy is very simple. The cards that we have available, they're very limited for this strategy, but it is a very decent strategy that you can play this. Again, if you're putting Iron Fist, 3 tackles, 3 hard knocks, depending if you have a big defense, perfect defense. So you're already looking at 6, 7 cards. Muster Courage if you're an Avenger, 10 cards. 2 Get Behind Me's, 12 cards, 13 cards, and then you add those allies, you're already at 17 cards, and you haven't even put in the resource cards yet. So definitely ways to play this strategy very, very efficiently. All right, now let's take a look at some of the basic cards that can really help out in this strategy. I did say that a lot of the stuff is very expensive. So let's just continue with the allies. We got Mockingbird. So Mockingbird is the queen of this strategy. Oh. So the queen of this strategy, she can come in and she stuns. She's from the core set. She's very, very good. And right there, she comes into play. We call her Blocking Bird for a reason, because she comes in, she stuns the villain, and then she deals some damage, and then she goes away. Super, super solid ally in protection, so in basics, and she can go into any form. All right, another great one here is War Machine. War Machine comes in, he's got tough, he costs 4, but man, you cannot go wrong with War Machine here. So he can deal 6 damage with range, and then he can block the first attack of the boss because he's tough. You can't go wrong. Comes in with that ability, and then you can kind of keep him around, and then you can again play around with this, muster courage stuff, and just keep him tough, and then just mitigate all the damage from the boss. All right, a card that is not played often here, but I really enjoy it when I'm playing with these strategies, is Invulnerability. I just give my hero a tough status card. It's not as good as Muster Courage, but it can be played by any hero, and that's why I like it. And just sometimes giving your hero a tough status card can make a big difference. You can take on a big hit. Looking at Rhino with his Stampede and his Charge, where he's attacking for 7 or 8, or even Ronin, who can come in at you with like a bunch of attacks, or Thanos. Just being able to be tough and just soak up that huge attack. If it's in the right time, it makes a big difference. All right, so like I was saying, a lot of the cards are very, very expensive when you're playing the strategy. So you're mostly going to be doing 1 or 2 things per turn. So it's going to kind of be slow play, but you are going to be keeping control of what's going on the table. So having cards like Helicarrier, Quinn Carrier, Avengers Mansion that are there to help you pay for this stuff will help you make sometimes 2 or 3 different moves. So these cards are really, really solid in this type of build. And I think a great complement to this is Meditation. So Meditation really, really helps you pay for this stuff for free. Okay, so you exhaust the first turn, and then you put your Helicarrier out. If you have an Honorary Avenger on yourself, you can actually exhaust and put a Quinn Carrier out, So that's actually really, really fun. Like, look at all those allies that cost 3 or 4. Like, being able to exhaust and then putting one down and maybe putting something else down and having enough for a different event. I think Meditation is a very, very powerful card, especially if you're going to be going with a deck that is going to be very high cost. Running 2 or 3 Meditation is never wrong. You'll always have a use for it. Again, if you want to flip down, and depending on what character you're running, it makes a big sense. And then a couple of cards, it's just because it makes a big difference, especially if you're running Gamora or what's her face, Gamora, or Adam Warlock, or even Spider-Woman. Like, you have extra cards that are not in protection that can be built in those guys. So we got Dudab, the drop kick, and the concussive blow. That confuses, that stuns, and draws you a card. So these are really, really good cards. Think Fast is another one that just makes, if you're a Guardian, you can play that. So again, with some of these characters where you can actually play the stun lock and stun confuse, or just paralyzing the villain, it's just so good. You can't go wrong. So again, the strategy is very limited. I really hope we're going to get some more cards that can kind of play into this strategy. But for now, this is what we have that is, like, I think the most efficient. If I've missed something, please let me know. But most of the time, so definitely you're definitely going to be wanting to run those powers of protection and those double gray resources and the triple resources. You want to have resources to do these things. So having all the double resources is definitely going to be a super important for this type of build, because it is expensive. All right, guys, so I hope you understand the strategy. I hope this video will help you try it out and check it out. Again, the only weakness to this strategy is the steady and stalwart keywords. But aside from that, this strategy is rock solid and will help you beat the game. All right, check out the action videos. I'll be playing 1 or 2 games within this strategy, just so you guys can see, maybe with a Guardian, maybe with a maybe with a Guardian character and an Avenger character, just so you guys can see the difference there. All right, so keep on playing Marvel Champions, and we'll see you soon.